Okay, everyone, we're here at the last of our lecture series in the Introduction of International Relations, and I hope that all of you have found these lectures useful, informative, enjoyable. Well, okay, maybe they're not the most enjoyable lectures in the world, but I hope that you found them useful. This will be the last one, and I think one of the more interesting ones, and this is about the construction of national identity. Because we talked about last time the spread of Westphalian values to the rest of the world. But that's not the whole story. In many parts of the world, Africa, Southeast Asia, and other places, there are these individuals and these groups, these anti-colonists, these colonialists, these revolutionaries, and others who are seizing upon the ideas of Westphalia and the ideas of the West and building their own nation states. And they're doing so through or towards the Westphalian model, I guess I would say. In many cases, overthrowing what had come before, overthrowing monarchies, overthrowing sultanates, overthrowing other kinds of governments. What's amazing is none of these countries are looking to the past to build their country. They're looking at the Westphalian model. Cambodia doesn't look to the Khmer Empire. They look to the Westphalian model. Thailand doesn't look to the Empire of Ayutthaya. They look to the Westphalian model. India doesn't look to the Mauryan Empire. It looks to the Westphalian model. So around the world, we have nation states adopting and adapting Westphalian principles, Western ideas about how a nation state should look. And one of the most difficult, I guess you would say, ideas during this time period that has to be constructed is the idea of nationalism. Now, nationalism is also a Westphalian, Western idea. If you took a time machine back, again, we'll use the same examples, to India 500 years ago, and you asked someone, are you Indian? They would have looked at you puzzled and confused. Well, what do you mean? What's an Indian? Go to the Philippines 500 years ago. Are you Filipino? What do you mean? Even in a place like China, for example, large, old, organized. The last dynasty, the Qing dynasty, was a dynasty of outsiders. It was a dynasty of Manchurians. And so the idea of China, the idea of Zhongguo, was not associated necessarily with the land, but with the personage of the emperor. And if you would have took a time machine back during the Qing dynasty and you would have asked your average Chinese, what is your country, what is your nationality, chances are your answer would have been something along the lines of the locality, the local village, the local city, the local county that they belonged in, the state they were part of, not necessarily part of the Qing dynasty. So this idea of nationalism did not exist in many parts of the world. It had to be imported from the West, imported along with other Westphalian values. You know, there's a funny story. At the end of Britain's control of India, reporters were going around the countryside of India and asking locals how they felt now that the British had left. And the most common answer was, who are the British? Who are the British? The point being, these individuals in the countryside, in the heartland of India, had never heard of the British Empire. They were born, they lived, and they died in their little communities, unaware of what was going on in the outside world, unaware that they were part of something larger happening. This is an amazing thing, and this is a challenge for many people who are trying to build modern nation states in the 19th and 20th centuries. And one way they're able to do this is by building nationalism and a national identity. And the way that is done is through what I like to call the tools of nationalism. And you see them there on the screen right now. Now, if we were in a normal class, I would ask you, I'd say, who can tell me some tools of nationalism? And you would be able to fire these off, 1, 2, 3, 4. But since we're online, I have to go ahead and put these up here. But you might think of some others, and you might want to share some others with the class. And I welcome that. But let's take a look at what I have here on the screen. Let's look at how these Westphalian Western ideas shape national identity. These are in no particular order, by the way. First, national anthems, national songs. Think about that. Maybe I can provide a link to the national anthems of the world, and you can take a listen to some of these. You will be amazed at how every national song sounds exactly like the other. They all sound like Western, European / American parade marches. If I was to play you, for example, I used to do this in class all the time. I would play the Chinese national anthem. I would say, which country is this? People would say, Russia, Austria, Germany. I would say China. They would be like, what? Where's the Chinese music? Exactly. I play India's national song. Where is this from? They would start naming European countries. Where's the Indian music? Exactly. Philippine national anthem, Thai national anthem, you name it. Most national anthems in this world sound exactly the same in terms of the music style. They're Western style marches, Western style orchestration. That's not an accident. These countries watched Europe, watched the United States and said, you know what, if we want to be a modern nation state, if we want to be taken seriously, if we want to be sovereign and equal, if we want to build national identity the way these guys have done it, our songs have to reflect their songs. And so it is. Take a listen. Take time to listen to some of the national anthems and be amazed at how similar they are. And the themes inside, of course, all national anthems sing about the same thing. Heroics, sacrifice, beauty of the land, and so on. In fact, America's national anthem may be the most unique. Ours is about a specific event in time. But the rest are very broad and general and very interesting to listen to. And along with national anthems, we have pledges of allegiance. How many of us as children, every morning in school, were forced to stand up, hand over the heart, I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, etc., etc., etc. How many of you did that? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. How many did that every morning of your elementary school life? How many still do it today? You weren't given a choice. They didn't come to me and say, hey, little Stephen Shirley, would you like to stand up and give the Pledge of Allegiance? They said, stand up, hand over your heart, face the flag, repeat. Why did they do that? They did that because they were building national identity in me and in my classmates. And all around the world, this idea is transplanted. And all around the world, people stop and pledge allegiance to their national symbols, their kings, their flags. Think about the flag. Flag's not up there, but flag is a tool of nationalism. Flags are not new. We've always had flags in human history, but think about how national flags look today. That little rectangular piece of cloth with some symbolism and colors. That's not new, but the way it's used to symbolize a nation state is part of the westernization of the world. It's part of the Westphalian values of the world. And it's part of building nationalism. Third on that list, money. Dig down in your pocket and pull out some of your money. I have some money right here. Being a poor professor, I have $1. $1 US. We don't have the most attractive money in the world, but we like our money, don't we? We feel a sense of attachment to our money. Why is that? Well, there's a sense of pride in a country having its own money. And what does money usually have on it? Money usually has the name of the country, some sort of slogan of the country, like In God We Trust, some sort of picture, a famous hero of that country or scholar from that country, or a building or something that represents that country. Here on the $1 I have George Washington, first president, hero of the Revolution, a man untouched by scandal, as far as we know. And on the back, well, the eagle. I won't even discuss the pyramid on there. It gets kind of controversial. But you will see the point. All nation states have money. The attachment to money is something real and something strong. You want to have your dollars when you leave the country, don't you? You take pride in the fact that wherever you are in the world, there's always a little sign there that says, we take American dollars. Or we must pay in dollars. And when you go to the exchange window, you look at the exchange rate. It's the euro, it's the pound, it's the dollar. Because some currencies are not convertible. But yet, to be a nation state, it seems that one of the things you have to be a strong nation state in this world, to be taken seriously, is to have your own money. And so money is a tool of nationalism. Language, well, we take it for granted sometimes. But some countries have had to create a national language in order to bring the people together. They have national languages, and languages are very powerful tools at building a national identity. We talked about it in the last lecture. India became India in part because of the official language of English, bringing people together. And now, of course, they have Hindi, Urdu, and English. In the Philippines, selecting an official language was difficult, but finally they settled on Tagalog. And that served the purpose of bringing various groups together. In our own country, English no doubt brings us together. And when you can't speak English, you're separated from the larger national body, aren't you? That's just a fact. So countries that have a strong national language and an affinity for their national language tend to be closer in terms of nationalism and national identity. Religion. Now, religion need not be a tool of nationalism in every country, but in some countries, it is the most important tool of nationalism. A country like Saudi Arabia, for example, you cannot be Saudi unless you are Muslim. Think about that. The idea in many of these Islamic republics is they are Islamic republics. They are republics, they are nation states built around a common religion. And it can be a very powerful tool of nationalism. Myths and legends. Think about in our own country, the kind of myths and legends that we have. Whether it's George Washington or Abraham Lincoln or whomever it may be. We have these heroes in our past that overcame tremendous odds, tremendous difficulties, and proved they were strong and they were trustworthy and they were victorious, as America always should be. Think about the idea of manifest destiny. You've heard this in your history classes. The idea that somehow America is destined to spread democracy and freedom to the rest of the world. That God is on our side. God bless America and no one else, we sometimes say. You hear presidents say this all the time. God bless America. On our money. In God we trust. God is on our side. Well, a lot of countries believe God is on their side too. And they create these legends around their great victories and their successes, and they attribute it to their character, their strong national character, or their belief in God. And a lot of countries have these myths and legends. Most countries have these myths and legends. Hard to go to a country and go to its capital and not see monuments to heroes, great soldiers, great leaders of the past. And young people are taught these. And they're taught to believe in these. Because these individuals represent the epitome of what it means to be American, or what it means to be Filipino, or what it means to be Chinese, or what it means to be Saudi. Tools of nationalism. Can you think of some more? I'm sure you can. This is certainly not everything. Certainly not everything. You can think of some more. I don't want to give away too many because maybe we can talk about this in our discussions. What are some of the tools of nationalism I did not mention? Which tool of nationalism do you think is the most important? Which tool of nationalism is the most effective? Maybe that's an interesting question as well. But all nation states that have become full functioning members of our international system, our Westphalian system that we have today, have all built their countries on these tools. With these tools. Their foundation is built by these tools. And they're very important. And they're Western in many cases. In most cases, the idea of nationalism is constructed through the influence of Westphalia and the influence of the Western countries. Now, this again is not an arrogant statement. This is not meant to be taken out of context. This is human social evolution at work. This is how the international system looks today. What about 100 years from now? Will it look the same? Maybe. Maybe not. If you are to believe the headlines and the United States is a declining power and China is a rising power, who knows what the international system will look like in 100 years? It may no longer be Westphalian. We may once again have Zhongguo at the center of civilization and the rest of us going to Beijing offering our allegiance. Who knows? 500 years from now, who knows? We don't. One thing that we do know is things can change, they do change, and they will change. International relations is not static. International relations is fluid. And I hope that you have enjoyed these introductory lectures. This wraps up the final introductory lecture, and I look forward to engaging in a discussion with each of you in class and learning more about your opinion of IR and all the things that we're going to talk about over the next few weeks together. Until then, this is Dr. S saying good luck and take care, and see you in class.